It's the Tromedy Podcast. Trauma plus comedy equals Tromedy. This week on Tromedy.
So my trauma started really from an incident that happened to me when I was 19. I internalized, so this is all stuff I didn't know because I buried it in my subconscious and it stayed there for years until I started writing about it, which created my book. And so what happened is I had contracted I'm just going to say it, if that's okay. Like my second or third partner, I contracted herpes. And I didn't know what it was. I was training for a triathlon, so I thought it was irritation. I didn't have any experience with sex, and my mom, we didn't have conversations back in the 80s about it. So I finally went to the doctor because it was really painful, and I get this bombshell that I have this STI. Oh, and by the way, it's not curable. Oh, and by the way, this is disgusting, the worst case I've ever seen, and here's a 1-800 number, get out of my office kind of deal.
Oh my gosh. So you got shamed. You got shamed.
Totally.
Egregious.
It was.
And I believe I read the stats that 1 in 4 people have herpes.
It is so common. And I don't know how other people feel about their diagnosis, but at that time, I internalized it as I'll never get married, I'll never have children, and I'm never going to talk about this to anyone.
You're listening to Tromedy, the podcast that helps you take your pain and play with it. I'm Nancy Norton. I am a former nurse, comedian, and keynote speaker about the power of humor, why we need it, how it helps us.
Bring the power of humor to your next event with award-winning comedian Nancy Norton. Nancy got out of healthcare for the same reason a lot of people get into it, to save lives. Message Nancy at nancynorton.tv. The Tromedy Podcast is sponsored by Crybaby Badass. You have to feel it to heal it. You are a Crybaby Badass luminary. See your light in the mirror. Do you have a trauma? Hey, you listening, do you have a Tromedy story to share? If so, send Nancy a message at nancynorton.tv.
This is a very good episode. Every episode is so good. I love my job. I love my calling. This is a calling, as you know. I cannot not do Tromedy because I need these conversations. I hope by listening in, you get a little something from them as well. I really am learning from every guest some coping skills or some inspiration, and always something funny every single time. And this is a mental health podcast. So keep breathing. Know you're not alone. If you want to find a comedy show or to connect with me, go to my website, nancynorton.tv. Everything is there. Enjoy this episode, and I'll see you on the other side. Welcome to Tromedy. My guest this week is a former fisherwoman, former binge drinker, and current author of Life Beyond the Binge. Please welcome Colleen Clifford, everybody. Colleen Clifford.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I don't
Thanks.
have the applause machine behind me. I should have, yay!
I got you.
You too.
I like you just heard, I do my little opening prayer, which I usually edit out of the podcast. But the fact is, I do believe that the angels love the clapping. So,
I love that.
Yeah.
And I have my little contribution to your beautiful prayer. My candle. Yes, it's sitting off in the corner here. You can't see it. Well, you saw it, but it's
now
right there,
I know it's there. And so
yes,
you have a spiritual belief system or a I don't want to make assumptions. So the candle.
No, but you kind of can, since I lit a candle, right? It's kind of like,
if
I, it kind of goes. I don't have incense burning right now, but that was earlier today. So
fantastic. You're in the right place. Every single episode, we end up sharing some spirit signs and stuff, which is my jam these days. I want to hear your background. I want to hear your story. And then who knows, maybe before we end, we'll hear some spirit signs. Which I know if you're a woman of the sea, you've got to believe in some woo-woo stuff. I don't know any people I don't know any sailors that don't have some spiritual kind of beliefs and rituals, because it's...
Well, we're a very superstitious bunch, that's for sure.
Well, well, tell me about your life. I'm fascinated. You're the first fisherwoman I've ever even known, I think. So
Do
how
I
did
look what you might picture a fisherwoman to look like?
no, you're not as salty and crusty as
I pulled out my whisker hairs before this conversation.
Let me see your peg leg. Do you have a peg leg?
No, I don't. I kind of wish I did, but I don't.
One of my guests is an amputee, and I'm sure if she listens to this, she'll be like, "Hey, Nance." No, she will be so cool with it.
I didn't mean it. I didn't mean it like that at all.
I don't know what you said. What did you say that was wrong?
I hope not offensive to anyone, but
no, I'm the one that said, "Show me your peg leg." No, listen.
Well, I agreed and said I want one, so I think we're both kind of spiraling down, right?
And like I say, the happy amputee who is on here, she has hilarious. Like one of her fake legs actually is a shark that looks like it's eating her foot off. So she's got a great sense of humor about it. In fact, she looks at it as the best thing that ever happened to her. As you know, we in recovery, or we trauma survivors, we who have hit bottom, and I'm guessing you did to get in recovery, we who have hit bottom, like our bottom, we don't wish it on anyone, but we are grateful for it. We are grateful for whatever that was. And for her, losing her leg was really one of the best things that ever happened to her. So I want to hear about your story. Should we go back before you even became a fisherwoman? Like, where were you raised? Where?
I mean, I'm 63, so this might take all day, Well,
okay, but
I maybe don't want to go that far, but
we don't have to. But I will say this: I have not met a person in recovery, and I'm assuming you're in recovery since it's beyond the binge. Yeah. I'm working a couple of recovery programs for codependency and as an adult child of a dysfunctional family. And I will say this, I haven't met anyone who's in recovery who didn't have some sort of childhood trauma that sort of set them up to self-medicate, and there's also adult situations, but to me, they seem to just recreate some childhood stuff. And you don't have to go into detail, but would you identify as a survivor of trauma?
Oh, yes, but not necessarily through my family. So I was raised in a family with 5 kids, and I'm number 4. My parents were young when they had us. So there was some dysfunction, as it's going to happen, right? You can't meet 5 kids' needs that are almost a year apart. It's a little chaotic in the house, right? So, but my parents did the best they can. I went to therapy. I feel like I worked through all my, the needs I felt I didn't get met. I forgave my parents. So that's all groovy, right?
Yeah. And I just want you to know, I am also the 4th. I always say I'm the 4th. Yeah, I always say I'm the 4th of 3 that were wanted. So that's my little joke, but I am the 4th of 5 children also. So wow. I get you. And I do, I've come to a lot of understanding, but it still doesn't take away the trauma, even though I forgave, everybody. I do believe 100% our parents did the best. And man, they're amazing survivors also. So yeah, everybody has done their best. And we, in my recovery work, we do not blame or shame our parents because in some ways we've become them. But yes, tell me more. So then you forgave them, you moved on, you went to therapy.
Yeah, in fact, it's really fascinating, the whole dynamic, because you're the 4th. There's something about being the 4th kid, and it's really fascinating. There's like a pattern to these things. But anyway, so my trauma started really from an incident that happened to me when I was 19.
Okay.
And I internalized. So this is all stuff I didn't know because I buried it in my subconscious and it stayed there for years until I started writing about it, which created my book. And I excavated the like muck and gunk and I figured it out. And so what happened is I had contracted I'm just going to say it, if that's okay.
Yeah.
I had after being sexually active later in life, like my second or third partner, I contracted herpes. And I didn't know what it was. I was training for a triathlon, so I thought it was irritation. I was I didn't have any experience with sex, and my mom, we didn't have conversations back in the 80s about it. So I finally went to the doctor because it was really painful, and I get this bombshell that I have this STI. Oh, and by the way, it's not curable. Oh, and by the way, this is disgusting, the worst case I've ever seen, and here's a 1-800 number, get out of my office kind of deal.
Oh my gosh. So you got
Yeah,
shamed. You got shamed.
totally.
Oh,
And being,
terrible. What a terrible, first of all, let's just acknowledge how horrible that is, because I'm a healthcare practitioner, or I have been, I'm still a registered nurse technically, but do not take advice from me. I'm just saying that's horrible behavior.
it
Egregious.
was.
And I mean, and I believe I read the stats that 1 in 4 people have herpes.
Mhm.
So it's so
and it's
common.
still,
Yeah.
it is so common. And I don't know how other people feel about their diagnosis, but at that time, I internalized it as I'll never get married, I'll never have children, and I'm never going to talk about this to anyone.
Oh,
And yeah, I took the number. I was just kind of shocked. I didn't even know what it was, and I couldn't Google it because there was no Google at the time. And I really thought I could not have children, and who's going to want me? I'm this dirty, trashy, got this
oh
thing
my
down there.
gosh. And
Yeah, I really,
you're only
I was
19?
19.
Oh
Yeah,
my
and it was like
gosh.
my second partner, so I really got unlucky. And so I walked out of the clinic, I threw the paper away, and I said, "That's it. I didn't say to myself at the time, my life's over, but I just said, that's it. I'm never talking about this." I like wiped my tears, and I proceeded to live making choices to reinforce my belief that I was unlovable. And it just kept, the interesting thing was that I would almost forget I had it. Like, you hear these horrible stories of girls who might, a child that's in the dumpster, and people say, how can that happen? And I'm like, you can disassociate from your trauma. I'm not saying it's okay or anything, but when you have trauma, you can disassociate, like it's not your body, it's not happening to you.
Yes,
And
especially when there's that much shame involved.
exactly. And so I don't, of course, that's not the right decision to make, but we just live through life trying to cope.
And it's not necessarily a conscious decision. It's just a survival trait. It's a way of like trying to be okay.
Right. And of course, I'm not like saying that's okay or anything. I'm just trying to say that we can disassociate from our trauma or from what's happening to us. And I think I did that because I just, then I fell into commercial fishing because I was binge drinking in college. I did go to college for a couple of years, but I'm not, type A. I couldn't go to class hungover. So, college drinking, and I stopped going to some of my classes. I finally just dropped out. And my friend was fishing, and she also was a college dropout for probably the same reason. So I went fishing in Alaska, and this is 1987. And it was, unbeknownst to me, it was a perfect place for me because it was out in the Bering Sea in Alaska, off Alaska, in between Alaska, Russia, and Japan. And nobody knew what it was at the time, right? I mean,
Nope.
now people know what commercial fishing is, but no Wi-Fi. It was the perfect escape of getting out of reality. And it was the safe environment for me because I was working. I didn't have to, I wasn't going to have kids or get married. So I didn't have to be home watching all my friends do that. I could just isolate on a boat and work and make money. And it was perfect.
I
With
got
a lot
you.
of guys.
Yeah.
I'm heterosexual. So it's like, oh, woo,
You had your choice of the crew.
Well, it's interesting how a person can make choices that are kind of reflect how they feel about themselves. And I joke about it, but it really wasn't in the interest of taking care of myself.
Yeah, I know. And
Yeah.
again, this is Tromedy. This is how we
Yeah.
make it manageable. This is how we titrate our pain. We laugh and we self-medicate with laughter. It actually gives us a little endogenous morphine. But when we look at it with a loving perspective as somebody who cares about yourself, now that we're in recovery and I'm reparenting myself, I will say like, oh yeah, that's not what I would want for my daughter to, or someone I love. But at the time, like you said, it helped you not be comparing yourself to other people. It gave you a purpose. You had a job. You were good at your job, and you're doing something very unique. And hanging out with these probably I'm guessing, kind of rough dudes who didn't judge you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it helped me. I created this persona of being a tough woman, independent, could do whatever I want. I'd get off the boat. I didn't plan to get married or have kids. I had no obligations. I could travel wherever I wanted around the world, which was great because I did that. But it was all a mask.
Yeah.
To hide my vulnerability and my belief that I was not lovable.
Yeah. And
yeah.
I hate to say how common that is.
I know, right?
Now that when we come out, isn't it interesting how many people will say they have felt that way? We didn't know everybody. We didn't know almost everybody. I don't want to say everybody, but I think a lot of folks in our culture feel that way.
Yeah, Nancy. And the thing I realized, which was my aha for me, is when writing my book, I thought it is about binge behavior and my binge drinking and how I moved through that, and my late husband's death by suicide, which was binge drinking related. So now I'm an advocate for mental health and sharing. And that's the silver lining from his death, gave me purpose. But I realized that the story is beneath the behavior. And once I figured out the story was that one incident of shame created the story, which I proceeded to carry with me in my subconscious through most of my adult life. And it ran the show. Isn't that crazy? And it's not even true.
It's actually,
it's not a true story.
Yeah. You know, it's so funny. And I think about and you're inspiring me to write my memoir, because part of the one line I've thought of is the big lie. The big lie. And the original lie is that you're not enough, that you're not lovable, or you're not enough. There's this big core lie. And yours, you know, the fact that this guy, I mean, have you ever thought about, or I'm just curious, in your book, maybe it's come out, of writing a letter to him, even if you don't even remember his name, of just, or like, I did a recent recovery work with a sexual assault that happened when I was 15. And even though I know nothing will come of it legally, I made a police report about it after all these years. You know, here I am, 65, you're 63. And I found that very healing, just to like almost like make a report to the board of the medical board. Like this person put me on a trajectory of self-loathing and harm. This man caused me harms. Caused you harms.
I like that. I think I'll do that. Wow. I'm all about suggestions and helpful ones, especially when it comes to writing. It's very therapeutic for me.
Well, I mean, you're doing it. That's what you're doing right here. I mean, you're sharing your journey. You're sharing with other people who are also, gosh, 1 in 4. I always think about that. And I was just on stage the other day talking about HPV, which is a different virus, but also incredibly common sexually transmitted disease, HPV. And I'm always encouraging women to go get themselves checked, because even if you haven't been sexually active in 20 years, it can lay kind of dormant. So don't stop doing your pap smears, is what I'm trying to say, because that can cause cervical and uterine cancer. And I dated a sailor, just so you know. The same sailor gave me HPV twice, because it was 25 years apart. It's kind of a weird story. But I like to joke about it, because it's like, I know there's a lot of women in this audience that are like, hey, it's called the LEAP procedure if you have it on your cervix, and they have to cut off part of your cervix. And I'm like,
oh, wow.
I leap across the stage like a ballerina, and I'm like, I've had my cervix whittled on so many times. It's like a jack-o'-lantern if you put a candle in my uterus. Anyway, that's my Tromedy, but that's how I deal. And then you wrote, and you're about to release this book, Beyond the Binge.
Yeah, Nancy, it's pretty terrifying. So like I so when I was writing it, didn't want to put this part in, right? I call it the chapters my death sentence, and I didn't want to include it because what are people going to think? And it's not necessarily strangers; it's the people that know me, right? Or even my past partners, and I go, well, she never told me, you know. So that's the vulnerable part. But I decided that why bother telling the story? That's the heart of it. That's the beginning of my whole problem, like my binge, and it's if I can be of help to someone else, and actually sharing it is releasing it from me, because I didn't start talking about this till like 6 months ago.
What?
I was on a podcast with someone, yes, and I never said it out loud that I have herpes. And the guy I was talking to, he wanted to know what happened, and I didn't want to tell him. And he's like, "Come on," he pulled it out of me. We were having this great conversation. I kind of forgot this is recorded and it's going to be put out. It's like, you feel like you're sitting across the table from me.
Right.
So I said, okay, fine. I'm just going to tell you I have herpes. And he's like, come again? And I said, I have herpes. And he goes, and he's the one that said, wow, that's like a death sentence. And I said, you know what? You just hit the nail on the head. That was my death sentence.
Now, why would he say that's like a death sentence?
Because he's coming from a male perspective. The fact that I have herpes, who's going to sleep with me? Who's going to want? It was
like if you lead with that on a dating app or something, like,
yeah,
or
it's a death. Like nobody's gonna.
It's like it's death to dating. Yeah, yes. But not to your body, obviously. It's not going to.
No.
Hopefully, yeah. It's not good. But back to your bravery about it, because you're right. Yeah. When I think about 1 in 4 people have herpes, I'm trying to think of anyone who publicly talks about it. So, hey, I do have an applause me. I have a thing on my roadcaster. Let's do this. Oh, sorry. I have to edit that out. Damn it. Which one is the applause button?
You shouldn't edit out. It's perfect. I love that it's that perfect. Oh, should I get up and bow?
Yes. Get up and take a bow. All right, let's do it. All right, say I have herpes, and I'm going to say congratulations.
Oh my God, I have herpes.
Woo! Listen,
I'm proud of it.
You know what's so funny? I teach these improv classes. So I go around, I do these keynote presentations, The Power of Humor, but then sometimes I teach a breakout session called Practicing Playful Presence. And one of the number one fears is public speaking, but also the fear of failure. So I always have folks go around the circle and say something that they failed at and then take a bow. And I always say it can be real or imagined, so we don't have to know. Only you know if it's real. But I mean, almost all of them you can tell they're real because of what they share. But it's like, that would be so amazing. I have herpes. I failed at protecting my body from an STI. Ta-da! So many people would cheer for that.
Well, I hope so. I mean, you're going to have your, my dad, it's out on Kindle version. And I was with my dad the other day to go to my niece's for a birthday party. And he's like, I'm on chapter 7 of your book. And I go, you're reading it?
Oh.
And he's like, yeah, of course I'm going to read it. He goes, wow, you really laid it all out there, didn't you? And I'm like, okay. I said, I had to, Dad. So then I felt like I had to explain why I had to lay it all out there. And he understood it. And then he gave me some nice feedback about it, some genuine, so that was very nice. I can't remember exactly what he said, but the first thing was, wow, you really laid it all out. I'm like,
did that I bet that
re-triggered. The terrifying part.
I bet that was terrifying. And also the feeling of shame, because well, my mother I was an embarrassment to my entire family for coming out as a lesbian on television. And now I'm no longer lesbian identified. So anyway, that was I did break ground I broke ground for Ellen and Rosie before they came out. But
I love that.
But my mother was like, she told me, you will be an embarrassment to this entire family.
Yeah.
And so to feel that, and I'm so glad that he acknowledged it, but then acknowledged what you did was good.
Yeah, I think I think that's where it was coming from, because his friends are reading it, and he's 86, so but
And some of
I
them have
that was
herpes.
the
I guarantee you some of his friends have herpes, if not him. You know what I mean? It's like, hey, it's like, okay,
yeah.
we've all been in the closet about this. I mean, that's what,
Yeah.
so
Yeah. Yeah. He's pretty forward thinking. He has a friend that he does volunteer work that is HIV positive. Um, and my dad said, I'm going to meet with him because he's having some medical problems and I don't know what it is, but I'm going to meet with him. So, I mean, I'm like, okay, well, you can deal with your friend that has HIV, which was sexually contracted. So, your daughter has herpes, whatever, get over
you're
it, right?
human. Your daughter is human. Turns out, and again, I don't like the way I said I failed to protect myself from an STD. I'm the one, I did fail, and I knew. Like, I dated the sailor twice. I got HPV 25 years before, and again when I dated him again, and I didn't learn. Like, I'm a nurse, and I still didn't protect myself. I don't know, but
Yeah,
hey, we're human. We are
exactly.
human. And that's one of the things in my family of origin. I just didn't feel like we could be completely human. I don't know why. Like, having feelings and not being perfect. And it just felt like that's for other people. Like, we couldn't do it. Like, I think it's very interesting. I think that herpes, now that you're saying this, like I said, I haven't heard many people talk about how it has impacted them personally on their self-esteem or and I know now we have the acyclovir and antivirals that are really helpful.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, I think it's an underrepresented virus, maybe.
Yeah, there's a fear of being rejected. And, if you decide to tell your partner, not everybody tells their partner, depending on the level of commitment you have with your partner. And then the other thing is, okay, maybe you don't have a strong level of commitment in the beginning, but you've been sleeping together for 2 months and then you have an outbreak. And are you going to tell your partner then? How are they going to feel about it when you tell them 2 months into the relationship? So what I would do is break up, because in the beginning, I didn't have the courage or the wherewithal, the courage to tell in the beginning, because I was so afraid of rejection. So instead, I preferred to have the control. And when I would have an outbreak, because I always know when I'm going to. It's like when you have your period, you kind of know the signs before the period. So after a year or two of having this problem, you'll know you get this little ache, and it's brewing, right? So you avoid sex without protection, and even with protection, it's probably a good idea to avoid it. But in the early days when I didn't tell my partners in the beginning, I would break up with them when I'd have an outbreak. And so, a lot of those partners didn't know why I broke up with them, because we were happy and having a great time. And then all of a sudden I break up and they're like, what happened? And just
You
moving
just
on.
ghosted them. You had to. Yes,
Mm-hmm.
I will say I hope folks do have transparency with it. Maybe you'll inspire
Mm-hmm.
them to. And because, if it's 1 in 4 and you're dating someone and they're like, well, I also, they may say they have herpes. I will say, it's not because of my behavior that I don't have it. Like, our behaviors were exactly the same, but I got HPV, you got herpes. But I will say one partner I had, he went home after we had had sex and he said, oh, I got home and I noticed I had a start of a herpes, and that's when it's highly transmittable. And I called
Mm-hmm.
my gynecologist right away. I got acyclovir, and I did something that I made up, and I don't know if this was why I didn't get it or if there's just I have had cold sores on my mouth, which is almost the same virus. It's just a simplex 1 versus simplex 2. But I will say, he gave me a prescription for acyclovir, and he did not tell me to do this. I just did this. I broke up the capsules and I douched with it. And
Oh,
I just
wow.
I put it all over me, and I cleansed. I don't know. I tried to lower the viral load. I never got genital herpes, but it's not because of my behavior. It's just because of either treating it or I don't
Getting
know,
lucky.
just being lucky. Or
Yeah.
some folks, and there's a number of the population that don't get. And I read about this because I had a partner who had MS, and then some people that have a hyperactive immune system don't get it, like autoimmune disorders. So she had an autoimmune disorder. She never got a cold sore. She never got a herpes. You know what I mean? Like, some people
Mm-hmm.
don't, but there's a theory that they actually harbor the virus in their brain, but it doesn't It doesn't demonstrate peripherally, either
Wow.
orally or genitally. So I'm just fascinated by, I might do a little research, and I'll put links in the show note about herpes simplex 1 and 2. So if folks want to learn more about it,
I know somebody that used to slip a note because they couldn't say it. Like, I have herpes.
Yeah.
And quite honestly, you're absolutely right. It is more common. A couple partners told me they had it when I said I had it. And I said, okay, well, I'm glad we're on the same page. Obviously, you weren't going to tell me, so I'm telling you. But I get it. I get it why you weren't going to tell me, so it's okay. I get it. It's cool.
You're just you were a little more evolved than them. So, but that's amazing. Yes, slipping a note. And and I've had to make the phone call about when I found out I had HPV. I had to call a lover and say, I just found out I have this. So it's not a fun phone call to make. But I just want to say to folks, if we can be transparent, that's ideal. And if we find out after the fact, let's do our best, because we're human and it's okay. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yes.
How are you feeling? How are you feeling now? Like how does it?
With sharing that, you mean?
Yeah.
It's getting easier. Yeah. And having these kind of conversations that, where we kind of joke about it, or just have just these are the facts, and we are human, and it doesn't mean I'm a good or bad person or you're a good, it's just, I got unlucky. And just trying to share that, you don't have to beat yourself or run yourself through the coals because this happens to you. And I wish I could go back and hug that 19-year-old girl and tell her,
let's go back and hug her and tell her, you're wonderful. It's not your fault. It's not your fault. This is so common. And, your fear kept you from going to get treatment sooner. We wished it would just go away. And we understand completely why you waited a while. And you're tough, you're resilient. So you're just like, oh, I'm tough. I can handle this. And then one day you couldn't handle it and you went and got help. And that person betrayed your trust. And I'm so sorry. So sorry that person betrayed your trust. You did not deserve to be treated like that.
I appreciate that. But then again, you think, wow, without that, I wouldn't be who I am today. So it's...
I know, right? And here, let's talk about that. Let's talk about post-traumatic gifts, because my very first guest who came on Tromedy, and the reason we have this podcast is Heather. Heather Callahan was attacked by a serial killer. And if you haven't heard episode 1, it's the heaviest one. But I will say, we don't wish these things on people, but we also wouldn't trade it, because there are these post-traumatic gifts that have come to us, and going into the depths of hell. It's almost like Dante's Inferno. Going through hell has made us something beyond what we would have been had we had this really life with all these, buffers and bumpers, and we never went through hardship. So is that how you're saying that it's how you feel? You trust your path?
I do. And honestly, I'm kind of proud of my badass fishing life, so I'm okay with it. Yo-ho, a pirate's life for me. I love that ride when I was a kid at Disneyland, so I'm good with the outcome.
Yeah. Well, and, my therapist would say it's a both and. Like we can comfort the inner child. And because at 19, really, your myelin's not developed. You are really still a child in development, even though legally you're an adult. And, we can comfort the inner child, we can acknowledge, and we can say, thank you, loving universe, for making me who I am, and you survived it. So imagine, some folks don't. That's the sad part, is you have witnessed folks, and your husband, your ex-husband, your late husband, he was your current husband at the time.
But I'd asked for a divorce the day he died.
Oh.
So we were working on becoming exes.
Oh. Yeah. You carry that, does that?
I did at first. It's rationally, it's not your fault. You can't control anyone else's, behavior. And
yeah,
that's right. Yeah, we have a very family friend who I admire very much, and he's sent me a letter like almost immediately, just reinforcing that talk, and also said just the fact that, healthy individuals should be able to survive on their own if you want out of a relationship. And so just the fact that he chose to die shows how unhealthy he was at the time. His
Absolutely.
mental, yeah.
That's
And
true.
also drinking, being drunk was not I believe being drunk pushed him over the edge. I think when someone's suffering depression, alcohol just is like fuel to the fire.
Yeah, it is a depressant, alcohol.
Mhm.
And then the feeling, and then the shame that cycles too when you are hungover and probably life is dysfunctional. You're not performing, you're not able to perform in relationship or work or whatever. It is compounding. And so that was another big, big hardship for you
Mhm.
that you survived. Is that in your book about
Mm. Yes, yeah. Yeah, it's the motive for why I'm here.
that? What is
The
the motive?
motive is the promise I made to him. I guess I should be clear. Throughout my grief journey, I went through stages. I was pissed. First, I was anguished, pissed off. You go through the stages of grief. And then I went through a depression, probably about year two after he died. And once I was able to move through that, I gained a compassion because I'd never experienced depression before like that. I mean, I
Oh,
may have had some bad days of, like kind of normal depression, but not like where I don't want to get out of bed depression. And I thought, wow, if I was feeling like that, I have no idea what he was feeling. In order, and the whole idea that someone who chooses death over life to ease whatever pain they're going through, it's a sad place to be. It's a tragic place to be. And so that's when I promised him I would try to do something in life to make a difference. And at the time I didn't know what it was, and this is just took years for me to figure it out, but now I believe this is it. And I found my banner to carry for this latter part of my life
thank
to
you for
share.
thank you for picking up the banner. Thank
Mm,
you for, you got the assignment, but then you took the assignment. And I've never written a book. I want to, and it's been on my calling for a long time, and I haven't had the discipline for it. So thank you for your work and discipline. I
mm.
know that. How long of a project was that for you to write the book?
Yeah, it's not easy.
Yeah.
It took about a year, but I was really motivated to once I realized that this is what I wanted to do and I wanted to start speaking from this place, from the book, from the story, from the promise, that I was really motivated to finish it. Maybe I should have given myself a little more time to do editing, but the book is out now and it is what it is, and I'm really proud of it. So it took about a year. But I also remember I have a lot of, well, maybe you don't, I didn't explain this, but on the boat I have a lot of free time. I work 12 hours, but I also have 12 hours off with nothing, I don't need to sleep 12 hours. So there's nowhere to go. I mean, we have a gym, but I'm usually in my room. And so there's a lot of time to just really focus. So I got a lot done when I was working on the boat.
Okay. So were
Yeah.
you working on the boat as recently as you were writing this?
Yes. I still
Okay.
work on the boat. I'm not actually done fishing. Yeah. I'm
Okay.
yeah, I'm exiting out of that industry. I have 2 more years or 3 more years. So I
And
still fish.
okay, and you and I were talking a little bit on the phone, just briefly, because I don't want to talk too much before we talk here. You know me, I'm an animal rights activist. Now, I am a hippie crit.
Yes.
Let's keep in mind, I call myself a hippie crit because I am getting ready to go to Alaska. I'm doing the Alaskan World Arts Festival in Homer next
Oh,
week, and
cool.
I'll be there if anybody wants to come see. comedy show, but also I do a Tromedy workshop where I teach people how to take their pain and play with it, kind of like what we do naturally as comedians. But what I when I'm up there, the last time I was there, my host had a jar of dried salmon in a refrigerator. And I saw it every day. And then on like the fourth or fifth day, I'm like, you know what? I'm going to eat a piece of this dried salmon. And I did. But I do think sustainability wise, probably better to eat fish in Alaska than an avocado. I think it's a complicated conversation about animal rights, exploitation. But I'd love your input on what you have seen over all these decades now, it sounds like.
Yeah.
Fishing. Do you, in terms of sustainability and ethics, and do you have some opinions about those things with fishing?
I do. First, I wanted to say that the salmon industry is different than the pollock industry. The corporation I work for is the pollock industry. So I'm not really sure about the salmon sustainability and that industry. But the pollock industry is sustained. It's managed by NOAA. I don't know if you know that. And
no, I didn't know any of it.
Yeah, the North Pacific Fishery Management, they maintain the stock assessment of pollock. And now with the technology, it's in fact, the captain fishes with a camera on the net so he can see what's going in the bag. So it's actually better fishing now than it was back in the day where they just dropped the net and anything would get caught. We have on our vessels, we have a scientific observer that charts everything we're doing, manages how much we catch, the bycatch, meaning the fish that we're not supposed to be catching, the fish that get caught, or maybe the squid that gets caught in our net. They measure all that. And so sometimes we have to move if we're catching too much bycatch in one area. So I think, we don't want to overfish pollock because, then there's no fish. So it's managed. Every year we get a certain amount of fish to catch. And when we're done, we're done. We see it is kind of cyclical.
You think folks adhere to it? That's the thing. Like,
they have to.
My son and I have done a lot of fundraising for the Sea Shepherds about whaling. And even though there are all these laws, there's all this illegal whaling that goes on. So you don't feel, but the company you worked for was ethical. Like they subscribe to the law. And what do you do with the bycatch? Does it survive or does it die? Is there any?
No, it dies, but it gets ground up and it goes back to the sea and the whales, and it goes into the marine life, and the little other critters eat it. So it's really
okay. That's good to know. I didn't know that it became part of the food chain.
Mm-hmm. It does.
Okay.
Yeah, it's hard to see, quite honestly, on a big scale. You see this huge bag of fish come on board, and if you really are an animal, if that pulls on your heart for seeing that, then that would not be an occupation you'd want to see. And sometimes it's hard for me to see. How I came to, I didn't want to say be okay with it, is I guess for me, it's going to continue. I have a great job. I might as well be the one cooking on the boat. So my belief system isn't enough to have me go flip burgers at McDonald's. I'd rather be on the boat working. Somebody's going to be doing it. But we are not like catching whales in our net. It's strictly overseen, and we do have to follow the rules. I think, maybe those other boats there, there's different kinds of fishing. There's people that own their own boat. They have like two guys on it, and who knows what they're doing. And they're probably, maybe they're drinking on the boat. We have zero tolerance on our boat. We have all the HR things. You can't sexually harass. We have to, treat each other. We have all kinds of nationalities, sexualities, transgender. Everyone lives, they might not maybe like it, but we all treat each other with respect, and it's demanded, and I love that.
Yeah, well, I love that too. But you're saying, so when you did your binge drinking, it was between gigs, so you weren't, you didn't drink on the ship, because is it called a ship or a boat? I don't know.
It's called a ship. I call it a boat, but I've always get corrected.
Because if there's a gym, I feel if anything that can hold a gym has got to be a ship.
Yes, and
That's a big vessel.
Our ship can hold a boat. So my dad
Yeah.
loves to correct me on that because I just called it a boat, but it is a ship. Yeah, absolutely.
Well, I mean, I don't know enough about it to comment on it other than I know I do feel for suffering of animals, and I just love to eat low on the food chain, that's just
Hmm.
me. And I know a lot of fishing goes to grind up meal for cattle, like they're feeding cattle fish. I don't know if pollock, but I don't know enough about it to comment on where all this fish
Hmm.
is going and why we're fishing the ocean. But I am encouraged to hear that. I didn't even know there was this much oversight, which makes me
There's Oh
somewhat
yeah,
relieved.
there's a lot of oversight, and then as far as the salmon, because we're in Alaska, we're oftentimes we have to move if we catch. It's only like 850 salmon we can catch. So if we get two salmon, king salmons or whatever in our bag, we move. So it's they're protecting salmon, and it's as regulated as it can be without just not allowing fishing. Um, they do a really good job. We don't always like it because we're like, dang, we have good fishing, but we have to move because we caught two salmon, so we're
Do you,
moving.
do you get paid differently by how much you catch?
Well, we get paid by how much we catch, and if we catch it fast, we get paid faster. Or so if it's a 10-day trip and we get, that's a fast trip, or it could be a 30-day trip. We're still going to get paid the same, but we're
Oh,
working
you meet
an
your quota.
extra.
You're out till you meet the quota. I,
Yeah.
okay, it's interesting. I like learning. I'm a lifelong learner, and I never met anyone, and I never knew how this all worked. So thanks for
Mhm.
sharing that and being open to talking about it. And
Oh, yeah.
last question is, do you eat fish?
I do. I
Okay.
do, especially on the boat because it's already dead, and I almost feel obligated. Like we try to honor that, and it's fresh. It's the freshest fish you're ever going to get,
Yeah.
unless you go out fishing on your own. But I don't eat it at home much because it's just already been through the channels of transportation. And so no, we get it from downstairs up to the kitchen, and we eat it. So we're pretty spoiled.
Yeah, I was gonna say when I lived in Hawaii, my sister-in-law married to a Chinese Hawaiian man who went I mean, he would catch
Mhm.
an ahi, and we would have a plate of sashimi this big with cabbage. And I have to tell you, my mouth still waters. So I'm a
Mine is
hypocrite,
too.
man. I'm a total hypocrite. It's like the freshest ahi, and there is a part of me. And his mother was 100% Hawaiian and made this poke that was
Oh, we make that too, but
unbelievable. Anyway, so I'm not being a great voice for the voiceless today, but I do predominantly I do eat plants. I eat probably 99% vegan, which feels good for me. I like to just lower my carbon footprint. And I do think it gives me more energy. I stay healthy. I still have dark colored hair at 65. I don't know why. My mother never believed I didn't dye it till she died. She kept saying, "What color's your hair? Who does it?" But that's I don't know. I do want to give a shout out for a plant-based diet, but if you're in
yes.
Alaska, I don't know. I'll see if I eat fish next week or not, and I'll probably do a confession if I do.
Well, have a great time.
I
I'm
will.
excited for you.
Yeah, I guess it's going to be cold and rainy. We're 100 degrees today here in Boulder, Colorado, and I looked at the forecast. The high is like 60, low is 57, and rainy. So that's what I'm going to this week. Okay, so wait, where were we? And in closing, thank you for sharing all of this. But how do people find your book? First of all, we should get that out there.
Well, right now it's going to be available on Amazon. So if you're anti-Amazon, I'm sorry.
Yes, I am anti-Amazon,
I
but if
know.
that's the only place, then if at least if you're using Amazon, use it for the highest good. Be
Yes, yes.
selective. Be very selective with what you get. Yeah,
And it will be available on Barnes and Noble.
yeah.
And also I want to say my donation, my proceeds from any sales of the book, whatever it is, is going to go to Mothers Against Drug Drivers.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Yeah. Well, I was published by She Rises Publishing, but that's where we get published. So,
Oh, that's
um,
wonderful. She
ye-
rises.
yeah, I love
Love
it.
that.
Yeah, so I'm working on trying to get it available on other platforms like in Barnes and Noble, and some other places, so that it can be purchased off of Amazon.
Yeah, I am going to
Yeah.
visualize it for you
Oh,
at
thank you.
Barnes and Noble. And I'm trying to think, where do I order books? There's that, I'll send you a link to it. But it's
Okay.
a place that when I sent a book to my great nieces recently, their mother, I said, listen, I just want you to know I went through this website. And she goes, oh, that's where we get our books too. So I'm trying, but now
Oh,
it's not coming to my mind and I feel bad because I'd like to give them a shout out right here. Oh, well, anyway, I'll put it in the show notes. Just a nice place to
okay.
go. And so you've been sober for how long now?
5 years.
Congratulations. I'm
Thank
not going to try
you.
and hit the applause button again.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's amazing.
It is amazing. It's the best decision I ever made in my life. One of them.
Your energy looks great. You know, I can
Mhm.
see you're glowing. And I want you to know, if coming out to me as somebody who has herpes, I actually, to me, you are in a higher place of self-esteem, of esteem. I shouldn't say self-esteem.
Mm,
I hold you in a place of esteem. Like I have a lot of respect for you. I just think
mm.
it says so much
Well,
about
thank you so
you,
much.
as in your character. So thank you for being so vulnerable and courageous and honest,
Well,
just authentic.
well, thank you. I'm hoping to be an example of change. Like we don't need to be ashamed of these things that we carry. They're
That's right.
not who we are.
That's right.
Mm.
Any thing I didn't mention that you would like to mention before we have closure? Oh yes, I forgot to ask you about spirit signs. You were saying after your husband passed, how do I want to ask you this? You had some spirit signs. You've had some spirit signs.
I did. I did. I had some major ones. And the first one was so we were living in Utah when he died, but we had just moved there. So really, our home was the Sedona area, which is a very spiritual place,
Oh, I've
as you
never
probably.
been to Sedona. I've heard
Oh,
there's
yeah.
amazing vortex there.
Yeah. And this was back in 99. So it was even more magical before it was like discovered. But anyway, so I had his celebration of life in Sedona with our friends there. And it was at one of our best friends' houses, and someone came that I didn't know. And her name's Donna, and she had a dream that she presented to me when I arrived, because I was coming from Utah driving. And before I'd left on the trip, I had these pair of cowboy boots. We had horses and live in kind of this cowboy lifestyle. So I had this pair of salmon cowboy boots that were so uncomfortable. And before I left on the road, I thought, why am I wearing these? And I tossed them in the garbage because I've been tossing all kinds of things right after he died. And so I get to Sedona, a 9-hour drive, and she's like, "Hi, I'm Donna. Nice to meet you." And she says, "I just have to share this dream with you." And the dream was that she went to sleep, and someone came in the room with a white cowboy hat on, holding a pair of salmon colored boots, and sat at the edge of her bed.
Oh,
And that was my late husband, and he
yeah.
was holding my boots, right? So then she went on to describe the dream, and it was beautiful. And basically, I believe, and she believes too, because she's had these kinds of things happen in her life to share with other people, that basically it was an apology. He apologized in the dream, and he wanted to share that he was okay. He was good where he's at.
Oh,
But it was like an apology. And that I took that was so helpful for me, because I had such work to do going through my own grief. That was hugely helpful.
big
And
gift, a
then
big gift from the beyond.
a huge
Oh,
gift. And then I
yeah.
had one other that's really cool, which you'll dig. So a year to the day when he died, I was on the boat. I was on the boat when he died, actually. It's October 8th. And my captain is a photographer, and he would always share his cool photos with me. I'm down in the galley because I cook. So I'm cooking, and he might call me and go, "Hey, you got to come up here and see this." So he says, "Hey, you got to come up here and see this now." So I run upstairs to the wheelhouse, and I think I'm going to see a whale or something, because that's usually what we see. And there's an owl on the bow of the boat. And he goes, "I just can't figure this out. In 30 years, I've never seen an owl on
Okay.
our bow."
Woo,
Yes.
woo.
Yes.
Head to
And
toe, goosebumps. I feel like when we talk about these things, that his spirit comes through right now. Like
Yeah.
Do you feel him visiting?
Yeah.
I ha- right, I
I always hold his photo with me when.
Oh, would you put it close to the camera?
Yeah, that's Scott.
Oh gosh, what a handsome man.
Yeah, he
Scott.
was
Oh,
Osier.
Scott, thank you for showing up. Wow, he came as an owl.
Yeah.
He
So
sent an
I was,
owl. He sent an owl
yeah.
for
Yeah, it
you.
was, mm-hmm.
Wow, he
It
loved
was,
you. He cared about you and he just wanted you to know.
yes, I believe that too. And I saw a few other signs, bird signs. One other one was I moved back to Sedona, and I was with the same girl who had hosted the celebration of life, and she made this nice little cozy room for me downstairs. And we go downstairs, and at the window, this huge window with this huge tree that just blocked the whole window. And she's bringing me down to show me my new digs, and we look out the window, and there's this huge hawk just staring at us. And I'm like, it's like 4 feet away. And she jumps up, oh, Scott, she's just like going crazy. And I'm like going, whoa, that's trippy. And then I'm like, okay, is that Scott? Oh, well, hi, Scott. We're just like, but she was totally in. Like,
So she was saying, wow, it's Scott.
yes.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow. Because I don't know what's going on with Zoom, but when you went loud, it muted you completely.
Oh,
It didn't
when I
let you.
screamed.
Yeah, it didn't let it come through, which is so sad. Like I know you
that
were
is
saying
sad.
something important, and I'm like, it cut the sound out. So
Yeah,
she was screaming, "It's Scott!"
Yeah, she says it's Scott.
And
It's
you at
Scott.
first were like, "Oh, come on!" But now, as you look back, and you've probably
Yeah.
seen more and more and more of these spirit signs. Oh my
Yeah.
goodness,
What
my
about
mom.
you?
My mom, what's fun is like my mom and I had it was an interesting relationship. But anyway, as we know, I've come to understand her more and more. But survival traits, it's all about survival traits, But she shows up as cardinals, and there's no cardinals in Colorado. So I just did a gig in Texas for a bunch of nurses, and the woman that spoke before me, I got kind of triggered. I got a shame trigger, and I had to go outside because she was talking about it's not enough to be good, you have to be great. And I was like, oh, I thought good was pretty good. So I got really triggered by her talk, and I left. I said, I have to go outside. I had to go outside and resource. So I went outside, and this cardinal, and I might even put a photo in the editing. This cardinal just showed up, and then I just was
Oh my
outside, and
God.
I was doing my little heart chakra opening, and then I just started talking with this cardinal back and forth, and I said, thanks, Mom. I will tell them. And I did. I opened with, like, I just got to be honest, I was a little bit triggered by Kathy's talk, and they laughed so hard. Because I know I wasn't the only one. And she loved this book called From Good to Great. And no shade on Kathy. I was talking about, she was there. And I was like, listen, I'm not here to debate. I'm just saying I thought good was pretty good. And then that book made such an impression on her. And then I said, but the book that I loved that made the biggest impression on me when I was in my self-help 90s was Dare to be Average. So I was like, but the irony is when you dare to be average, you're actually great. So, I tried to make peace with it. I was like, it's nothing wrong with being great. It's just, it can lead to a feeling of never satisfied. Like I got to be better, 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 always chasing. And it's like, I was thinking about that when you were talking about the editing of your book. I wanted to tell you, I will bet you I will love your book more as it has its rawness. Because sometimes people over edit and then they get so refined. And to me, it gets almost like a little fancy. Like I don't want fancy writing, and I want humanness, and I want like, that's your authentic voice. And if there's a typo here or there, or if there's something like, oh, I probably should have, I just want to say I love that raw authenticity. So don't worry about it being perfect. It's okay to just be what it is. A year is a long time for a project, and it is worthy. And you're not out to get like a scholarly writing award. You're out to help people and help yourself, help heal yourself and others, which is, I'm putting words in your mouth, but that's the mission.
Yeah. No, you get my mission. Yeah. Yeah.
I know.
No,
that's why we get each other. That's how we got connected. However, AI or whatever connected us, that's why, because that is my mission, is help heal myself and others through these conversations. And these spirit signs, I truly believe that, this is part of the reward, that we get rewarded with having this constant contact with a higher power and spirit guides when we're
Open to it. Yeah. Yeah. It's just, they're everywhere. You just have to be open. Maybe he's sitting right with me, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I felt
But
him here. Thank you. Thank you, Scott, for showing up, and thank you for sharing his that's amazing. He's powerful to send you an owl, in the middle of the ocean, or the
yeah.
sea, the Bering Sea, or wherever. That's wild.
Yeah, it was an amazing man. It taught me that anyone can fall into depression. I mean, I didn't marry a depressed man. And just sometimes life can throw some really hard stuff back to back to back to us. And if we don't have the right tools or the ability to ask for help,
Yeah.
we can spiral down very, very fast.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing that. That's so important that people know that. Don't be ashamed of mental health or mental illness. It is an illness.
And there is a 988 helpline.
That's right. Yeah.
Available. I almost forgot to mention that. I try to mention it in every podcast. And there's also a helpline for veterans, because there's quite a high suicide rate for the military. And if you're a vet, you call that number, which I don't have it off the top of my head.
I'll put it in the show notes.
I'll get it for you. Okay. A vet will answer that can help you.
Because it takes one. Yeah, it takes one to know one. Yeah, I get
exactly.
That. But I'm glad you have another partner now. So
I do.
Oh, good for you.
Yeah, and his wife passed away, so it's kind of weird, but we have that in common, which actually brings us closer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it does. There's an understanding. Yeah.
Yeah, and I've said it before, we're very transparent. We say whatever. And I said, if she were alive, I probably wouldn't be able to have this grandma relationship with the grandkids. That he has children and a couple grandkids, and I get to take on the role as grandma, even though I'm not grandma. Yeah. So if she were alive, I would just be, it wouldn't be the same.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's right. No, it wouldn't. And I'm sure she's one of your, who knows, she might have brought you to him because she knew you'd be a great grandmother for his grandkids.
We think that sometimes. Yeah.
I love it. I might have to edit this back in too. No, because I'm feeling her here. I'm just like, that's just so beautiful.
It is.
Oh my gosh. Okay. We're never hanging up.
No, I'd love to see one of your comedy shows. So you must let me know when you're in the Pacific Northwest, please.
I 100% will. I'm going to be in Portland and Vancouver, Washington, which is really not near
It's
Seattle.
Not too far.
But I'll be there at the end of September 29th and 30th. I haven't done much marketing, I will be honest. They say I should be going on all these other podcasts talking about my podcast, but I haven't done that. But I will say thanks for helping me get the word out too about Tromedy. It's more about, wanting to be of service, answering this call. And in my recovery work, I turn my will over to higher power. And this is what higher power has asked me to do. So I'm doing it. But I do think people will be helped by your book. And I think they'll be helped by this conversation. So I do believe that.
I hope so.
Oh,
and
I already know.
Your workshops.
Well, you're helping me too, and you're helping me already, So anything that we can do to help people get rid of shame in their body environment or self-loathing, the more we love ourselves, the more compassion we have for ourselves, the more we can have for other people. And that's what's going to make this world work.
Exactly.
Yeah. So thank you. Thank you so much. I'm glad that we connected. And I look forward to hearing more about what's going on for you. Thank you, Colleen Clifford, everybody. I'll put a link in the show notes to your website, to your Instagram if you have one. Let me know. Just send it to me. And check her out. Check out her book.
Okay, thank you.
Peace. Peace and love. Bye. I want to thank my guest, Colleen Clifford. You can connect with Colleen at her website, lifebeyondthebinge.com. She's also on Instagram at purepotential.health. Reach out to me, Nancy Norton, at nancynorton.tv. Find my link tree to see upcoming shows. I hope to see you there. Most of my shows are at conferences and corporate events, but I do have some public events here and there. So come out, let me know, or bring me to your town. If you want to see some old Nance, create a show and bring me to town. I'll be in Homer, Alaska this week at the World Arts Festival, performing 2 shows of comedy and 1 workshop. of Tromedy. Take your pain and play with it. I want to thank my son, Nathaniel Norton. I want to thank our mascot, Mushu, who was sitting here next to me in his bed. Brings so much joy and comfort to our home. I can't tell you. So grateful for this little dog that came into our lives. I want to thank my son, Nathaniel Norton, who just turned 22 this week and went flying for the first time. Flew an airplane, did great. I had sweaty palms the whole time. It's okay. I'm not comfortable in an airplane. Anyway, I'm glad he had a good time, had a good birthday, and I want to thank him for the music loop for Tromedy. And of course, you, the listener, thank you for being on this co-healing journey and witnessing these conversations. I hope you're getting something from them. I learn a little something every single time. Let me know if you need anything, or if you'd like a subject covered, or you have a guest who you think would be a great match for Tromedy. We'd love them to come our way. Again, it's all about transmuting your pain into expression, whether it's comedy, writing a book, dance, doing service for others. I love hearing about people who have taken their experience and paid it forward in terms of what they've learned from it, sharing that with others. So thank you, all my guests, for sharing insights, and reach out and connect with some of them. There's over 100 episodes to choose from if you'd like to go back and catch up on some past episodes and spread the word, share Tromedy with a friend. And remember, no matter what, keep laughing.